Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. If I told you that your life, your actual biological survival, depended on how you spent the next 24 hours, would you still waste time the way you do right now? Would you still scroll through meaningless feeds, gossip about people who don't pay your bills, or chase distractions that give you nothing but momentary pleasure and lifelong regret? Of course you wouldn't. You'd suddenly become focused, intense, razor sharp. You'd treat every second like oxygen because you'd finally understand what's at stake. The irony is, that's not a hypothetical scenario. Your life does depend on how you spend your time. Every wasted hour is not just lost potential. It's biological decay, mental erosion, and emotional death. Yet people treat time as if it were infinite, renewable, or worse. Let me tell you something. As a scientist who has studied the human brain and the psychology of performance for decades, the mind does not perceive wasted time the same way it perceives wasted money or lost possessions. When you lose money, your brain activates the pain centers that signal loss. You feel it. But when you lose time, your brain numbs it. There's no alarm, no sting, no sharp pang of awareness. That's why it's so easy to waste it. But your subconscious keeps the score. It knows. Every second you procrastinate, every hour you delay your purpose, every week you justify mediocrity, your nervous system registers it as defeat. Your confidence corrodes, your self-respect dissolves, because somewhere inside, you know you're lying to yourself. Let's be honest. You protect your phone with passwords, your car with alarms, your house with locks, your data with encryption, but your time, you give it away like candy to anyone who asks. The world's most precious resource is the only one you hand over without a fight. Think about that. People will argue for hours to save $10, but won't fight for 10 minutes of uninterrupted focus. People will spend months negotiating a raise, but won't negotiate with their own distractions. And here's what's even more insane. Your time is not just minutes and hours. It's energy, it's attention, it's biochemistry. Every minute of focus or distraction literally rewires your brain. When you waste time, your neural circuits adapt to waste. You are training your brain to tolerate mediocrity. Let me give you an example. Scientists at Harvard did a study on cognitive switching costs. What happens when you shift between tasks? Every time you switch focus, your brain takes 23 minutes on average to return to full concentration. That means if you're checking your phone, replying to trivial messages, and glancing at notifications while working, you're never fully focused. You're living in a constant state of half effort, and half effort produces half results. This is why the average person lives a life of quiet frustration, always busy, rarely fulfilled. They confuse activity with productivity. They mistake motion for progress. They've become addicted to being distracted. And make no mistake, distraction is an addiction. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, doesn't care whether you're achieving your goals or watching cat videos. It just cares about novelty. That's why your brain lights up when you check your phone. It's a hit of pleasure. But it's a hit that destroys discipline. Because the same circuits you use for instant gratification are the ones required for long-term focus. They're literally burning your willpower every time you indulge in meaningless stimulation. Now let's zoom out. Imagine your life as a bank account. Every morning, 86,400 seconds are deposited into it. You can't transfer them, you can't save them, you can only spend them. And when the day ends, the account resets, but without rollover. One day you'll wake up and there will be no deposit. Game over. That's reality. So when I say protect your time like your life depends on it, I'm not being metaphorical. I'm being biological. Because your time is your life. The quality of your days becomes the quality of your existence. But here's the truth most people can't handle. If you don't protect your time, someone else will waste it for you. And every second you let someone's drama, someone's laziness, or someone's incompetence invade your schedule, you are letting them write your life story. And they're not writing you as the hero. The greatest achievers in history, from scientists to entrepreneurs, athletes to artists, all had one ruthless habit in common. They guarded their time with the intensity of a predator. They said no to almost everything. They built walls, not fences. Not because they were arrogant, but because they understood that focus is the rarest form of wealth. Einstein was known for wearing the same clothes every day, not because he didn't care about fashion, but because he refused to waste mental energy on trivial choices. Steve Jobs did the same. Warren Buffett schedules almost nothing in his calendar because he wants control of his attention. The most successful people are not the busiest. They are the most protected. You know what separates a winner from the average? Boundaries. The ability to say, no, my time matters. The courage to offend the unproductive. The strength to disconnect from distractions that promise dopamine but deliver disappointment. Let me tell you something you won't hear in your friendly productivity podcast. Time management is not about color-coded planners or cute to-do lists. It's about emotional management. It's about learning to tolerate the anxiety that comes with saying no. It's about the guilt of disappointing people who expect access to your life. It's about the discipline to be misunderstood for the sake of your mission. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack the courage to protect their time. They fear being alone, so they say yes to everything. They fear missing out, so they fill their calendars with noise. But every yes to nonsense is a no to greatness. And biologically, this has consequences. When your brain is constantly scattered, your cortisol, the stress hormone, stays elevated. That's why you feel anxious even when you're relaxing. Your mind never rests because your attention is fragmented. Chronic distraction creates chronic stress. But when you guard your time, something incredible happens. Your nervous system recalibrates. Your brain starts to associate solitude with strength, not loneliness. You begin to think clearly again. Your creativity returns. Your intuition sharpens. You begin to feel alive. There's a study from the University of Chicago that found deep focus, what psychologists call flow, triggers the same brain chemistry as falling in love. Dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin spike together. That's why when you're deeply immersed in meaningful work, hours disappear. You feel connected to something greater. That's not burnout, that's fulfillment. But you can't experience it if you never give yourself the gift of uninterrupted time. I remember working with a high-level executive once, brilliant guy, great ideas, constantly exhausted. He came to me saying he felt stuck, unmotivated, and overwhelmed. He blamed his team, the economy, even his sleep. But when I examined his calendar, it was chaos. 30 back-to-back meetings, endless calls, zero thinking time. I told him, you're not burnt out because you're working too much. You're burnt out because you never do meaningful work. We cut his meetings by 80%, blocked off 2 hours a day for focused thinking, and banned notifications during deep work. Within 6 months, he doubled his company's revenue and told me he finally felt alive again. The difference wasn't talent, it was time protection. You can't create value without space. You can't build greatness while multitasking. You can't hear your intuition in a noisy world. The truth is, the modern world is designed to steal your time. Every platform, every app, every notification is engineered to hijack your attention, because attention is money. You are the product. And the more distracted you are, the more profitable you become for someone else. So if you don't control your time, someone else's algorithm will. Ladies and gentlemen, your brain is not built for this constant chaos. Evolutionarily, it was designed to focus on one threat or one task at a time. But today, you are under siege from hundreds of stimuli every hour. The result? Cognitive fatigue, decision paralysis, emotional numbness. You wonder why you feel unmotivated. It's because your brain is exhausted from fighting distractions that never end. Protecting your time is not selfish, it's survival. And it starts with one word: no. The most powerful word in success is not yes, it's no. No to endless meetings. No to meaningless relationships. No to reactive living. No to people who drain your energy and disrespect your time. When you start saying no, something fascinating happens. The wrong people disappear, and the right ones show up. The world begins to respect your boundaries because you finally do. I've seen it over and over again in CEOs, in athletes, in artists. The moment they begin to value their time as sacred, everything changes. Because protecting your time is not just about scheduling, it's about identity. When you defend your hours, you are declaring to the world who you are and what you stand for. You're saying, I am not here to exist. I am here to create. You're saying, I am not here to drift through life at the mercy of distractions. I am here to dominate my space, my craft, my destiny. That shift from passive existence to active control is the defining mark of high performers, because time, when properly guarded, transforms into momentum, and momentum creates miracles. Now, let's be clear. Protecting your time is not easy. It's one of the most psychologically demanding things you'll ever do, because when you start cutting out noise, you're left alone with silence, and silence forces you to confront yourself. That's what most people can't handle. They'll choose the comfort of distraction over the discomfort of self-awareness. They'd rather stay busy than face their own mediocrity. But every transformation begins in that silence. The brain's default mode network, the system that activates when you're not consciously focused on external tasks, is where creativity, insight, and innovation emerge. That's the part of your brain that connects dots, solves complex problems, and produces genius. But it can only activate when you're not bombarded by input. So when you constantly check your phone, binge on nonsense, or fill every quiet moment with noise, you're literally suffocating your brain's genius potential. You're denying yourself the clarity that could change your life. Let me share a story. A few years ago, a neuroscientist friend of mine conducted a study on high-performing surgeons. These were men and women operating under extreme stress, high stakes, zero tolerance for mistakes. He found that their peak performance didn't come from caffeine, adrenaline, or speed. It came from structured solitude. Before every complex procedure, they spent 10 to 15 minutes in complete silence, visualizing every step. That focus, that sacred separation from chaos, allowed their brains to synchronize. Their heart rate slowed, their cortisol dropped, their alpha waves increased. They entered what psychologists call deep coherence. That's not motivation, that's biology in harmony. Now imagine what would happen if you gave your mind that same respect. If you built time every day where no one could reach you, not your phone, not your inbox, not even your own impulses. You'd stop reacting and start creating. You'd stop being a passenger and start being the driver. Because here's the truth. You can't master your life if you can't master your minutes. And most people don't even know where their minutes go. They say they're busy, but busy with what? The average adult spends over 3 hours a day on their phone. That's 45 days a year. 45 days gone. Imagine what you could build in that time. That's a business, a book, a new skill, a transformed body. Instead, it's traded for scrolling. That's why I say, you must protect your time like your life depends on it, because it does. Every wasted hour weakens your mental edge. Every unguarded day pushes your goals further away. And every time you let distraction win, you're teaching your brain that mediocrity is acceptable. Welcome to this episode. People think success is about intelligence or opportunity. It's not. It's about duration of focus. The longer you can stay on one path without getting derailed, the further you'll go than anyone else. That's why average people can't compete with obsessed people. The obsessed don't dabble, they dominate. And domination requires isolation. I know that sounds extreme, but let me tell you something. All greatness is built in isolation. The hours nobody sees. The mornings you wake up before the world. The nights you spend perfecting what others would have already quit. Those aren't glamorous moments, but they're sacred. because that's where you compound focus. There's a reason monks meditate for hours a day, why elite athletes train in silence, why world-class thinkers retreat into solitude. It's not antisocial, it's neurological. The brain consolidates learning during periods of deep rest and reflection. Without that, knowledge turns into noise. You're not tired because you're overworked, you're tired because your brain never gets silence. You're overstimulated, not overcommitted. When was the last time you were truly alone? No music, no notifications, no background chatter, just you and your thoughts. Most people can't handle 5 minutes of that. But if you want to change your life, start there. Because protecting your time begins internally. Before you ever block your calendar or delete an app, it begins with deciding what deserves your energy. Energy management is time management. You can schedule your hours, but if your energy is fragmented, if you're drained, distracted, and emotionally cluttered, your schedule means nothing. The highest performers protect their mornings, their mindset, and their mental bandwidth with almost religious discipline. They wake up early not because it's trendy, but because it's quiet. The morning belongs to them. Before the noise of the world starts, they set the tone. They train their focus like a muscle, because once your focus becomes a habit, your life becomes unstoppable. There's a beautiful concept in neuroscience called attentional control. It's the brain's ability to maintain focus on relevant information while ignoring distractions. It's not fixed, it can be trained. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. But every time you surrender to distraction, you weaken it. So every just 5 minutes on my phone is a repetition in the gym of failure. Every moment you delay your goals for temporary comfort, you are building the identity of a procrastinator. And identity always wins over intention. That's why you can't just try to manage time. You have to become a person who values it at the level of identity. Someone for whom wasted minutes feel unacceptable. Someone whose schedule reflects their destiny, not their distractions. When you reach that point, when your standard for time protection becomes unshakable, life bends in your favor. You start attracting people who respect your boundaries, opportunities that match your priorities, and clarity that cuts through confusion. Because clarity loves structure, and structure requires discipline. And let me tell you something, hard but true, you will never find time. You will only make it by cutting out everything that doesn't matter. Every hour you give to nonsense is stolen from your future self. That version of you who could have been powerful, fulfilled, and free, you're robbing them. You're stealing from your own legacy, and you know it. That's why it hurts so much when you procrastinate. That's not laziness, that's guilt. The guilt of knowing you were meant for more. There was a study at Stanford where researchers followed a group of people over 50 years. They found that the single greatest predictor of life satisfaction wasn't wealth, health, or even relationships. It was a sense of control over one's time. People who felt they owned their schedule reported exponentially higher levels of happiness and purpose. So protecting your time isn't just about success, it's about sanity, about joy, about waking up and feeling that your life is yours again. You don't need more hours, you need fewer leaks. You don't need more motivation, you need more elimination.
Start cutting ruthlessly. Audit your day like an investor audits a business. Where is the waste? Who drains your energy? What habits rob you of presence? And here's the part most people miss. It's not just people or tasks that steal your time, it's thoughts. Mental loops, overthinking, imaginary conversations. Your mind replays failures, worries about the future, and chews on problems that never existed. That's a time thief too. Protecting your time also means protecting your mental space, learning to let go quickly, to forgive, release, and refocus. The longer you dwell, the more energy you bleed. This is where emotional intelligence becomes the secret weapon. It's not just about managing others, it's about managing yourself, catching yourself when you drift into pointless thought patterns, reclaiming your attention again and again like a warrior pulling their sword from the mud. because every moment of regained focus is a moment of regained power. I want you to think of your life as a garden. Your time is the soil. Whatever you plant there, that's what grows. If you let weeds of distraction take root, don't be surprised when your harvest is chaos. But if you guard that soil, water it with discipline, and expose it only to sunlight that nourishes your goals, you'll grow something extraordinary. Most people's gardens are overrun because they never learned to say no to weeds. Ladies and gentlemen, this world rewards those who guard their attention. It punishes those who don't. The difference between a billionaire and a broke genius often isn't intelligence, it's attention. Where it goes, everything follows. So I'll leave you with this thought before I close. You came into this world with one currency that cannot be replenished: time. You can earn back money, rebuild health, repair relationships, but time once gone is gone forever. You don't lose it in years, you lose it in moments. Tiny decisions, tiny distractions, tiny delays. Until one day you look back and realize that the life you wanted wasn't taken from you, you traded it away. 1 second at a time. So from this day forward, treat your time as sacred. Guard it, defend it, protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. And when you finally do that, when every minute begins to matter, something incredible happens. Life slows down, you become intentional, you stop existing and start living. That's when time stops slipping through your fingers and starts working for you. That's when your days align with your destiny. And that's when you realize you never needed more time. You just needed more courage to value the time you already have. Because the greatest power in the world is not having time, it's owning it. And once you do, the world will never own you again.